Thank you for joining us for this lunch news broadcast, where we catch up on the news-making headlines across Namibia, expanding to the rest of the continent and the globe. In this broadcast, we have the following stories to keep you updated in this lunch hour. Kavango East technocrats to be held accountable. Newly opened Namcor branch shares their new technologies. In economics, local fishing industry stakeholders want the government to ban foreigners from taking part in quota auction. We will also take a look at the news-making headlines in today's daily newspaper. We bring you sports, economic news, and international headlines. My name is Aina Raizakweo, and this is NMH at 1. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa will today participate in the Southern African Development Community Extraordinary Organ Troika Summit that will include countries that are contributing military personnel to SADC mission in Mozambique. He will represent South Africa but also lead as the chairperson of the SADC Organ on Politics, Defense and Security Cooperation. The Secretariat is expected to table a progress report on the mission as well as a roadmap towards an international conference to support the economic and social reconstruction of Cabo Delgado. We return with more news from across Namibia right after the break. Thank you for joining NMH at 1. We are back with our visual news. Kavango East Governor Bonifatus Wakudumo has warned technocrats in his region that they will be held accountable for their actions and the manner in which they do their work. He was speaking at an event in Rundu on Friday, where he stressed that during his tenure, he would ensure that work done by administrators is done in accordance with what they are expected to do. Kenya Kambowe reports.
I want to assure you, as long as I'm the governor of the Kavango East region, administrators, if you are doing your work correctly, I am representing central government. There's no way you will tell me that no governor is interfering. I am not interfering, but I am directing you to make sure that you do the correct work. The government and the president whom I represent as a regional governor is elected by the electorates. And as a regional head, it is my responsibility to make sure, no matter what your position you hold in administration, my responsibility is to make sure that you comply and you do the work correctly. I cannot sit in my office, you tell me this school is having a hostel, and I know that school doesn't have a hostel, and you pay contractors to deliver services while that school doesn't have a hostel. And as a regional governor, I must just keep quiet, sit in the office, you to do your administrative work. I cannot allow that. Not in my tenure as the governor of this region. I will not allow that. Government must and should spend money for services rendered. We must agree. And we must also disagree for the good cause. I am not threatening anybody here, but I just want to tell you the truth. As long as Wakudumo Bonifatus is a governor in the Kavango East region, I will make sure, technocrats, you do your work. There's no free lunch. And you must do your work in accordance with the stipulated standard and specifications. If the specification is telling you the road must be 100 millimeters thick, the compaction should reach this most actual, it must be done accordingly.
Namcor recently opened its 10th service station. The station, located in Swakopmund, includes Ottawa and lists the first ever Pick and Pay Namibia Express. Here, retail side manager Peter Allen explains to Erwin Lushna some aspects and new technologies used by petrol attendants.
So we got into a bit of trouble with our customers because they think our champions are actually busy on their cell phones, but it's not a cell phone. It's actually something to prevent fraud that's nice developed in South Africa. If we have corporate clients, anybody that maybe wants an account with us, we actually have them loaded on our servers. So you can physically scan the number plate, scan the person's driver's license, and it sends an immediate email towards the company that is filled up. It's just to prevent fraud and things, so we're always trying to innovate and stuff. Obviously, just our normal pumps that we got from Namcor, and I've been in service stations a while already, no problems. So we're very happy about that.
Canadian alt-pop duo vocalist Frank Cadillac and drummer Adrian Morris of Neon Dreams performed in Windhoek and Swakopmund over the weekend. They are currently on an 18-day worldwide tour. Micheline Nawatises caught up with them.
So I'm joined by Neon Dreams. They just finished performing here at Soundgarden in Swakopmund. Guys, I know you only started your tour yesterday, which was the 8th of April. How are you finding it so far?
Oh, like right away. Maybe showed up.
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah.
Played Windhoek last night. Now we're here in Swakop. Did I say it right? Yeah.
Swakopmund.
And it's like, I don't know. It just feels right to be here.
Yeah.
And we want to keep coming back.
People were like super welcoming. We've been saying since we started touring South Africa that South Africa has like become another family to us. Well, coming to Namibia now feels like Namibia is another family
It
to
feels
us
like
too.
we'll be coming here a lot.
All right, so what is the main aim of this tour?
To come find our fans and play some
Yeah.
music. You know, we've seen that people in Namibia were listening to our music. So yeah.
Yeah, we like everybody in Namibia brought us a lot of joy just by listening to our music. So we wanted to show up and return the favor. Spread a little sunshine. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Music for the soul.
Okay, so from Namibia, where are you going next? What's your next stop?
Splashy Fans.
Splashy Fans.
Splashy Fan Festival in
Africa.
KZN.
Yeah.
In South Africa.
Yeah.
All right, one last thing. What's a word you learn, a Namibian word that you learn? You just mentioned it on the stage.
Lekker.
And
I'll wait my brew.
thank you so much, Neon Dreams, for having us. Please do enjoy the rest of your tour.
Cheers.
When we return from the break, we will be taking a sneak peek into Namibia's daily print publication. Stay with us.
got me feeling fresh.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. We start off with the Namibian Sun, where politicians have come under massive criticism after attending a lavish independence party in Swakopmund. The ruling party, SWAPO, are accused of attempting to save their image by organizing a post-independence weekend occasion in the past weekend by dishing out lunch packs to homeless scavengers at the Windhoek dump site. This move seems to have exploded in their faces, as SWAPO now is being accused of treating symptoms of poverty rather than fighting the cause of hunger and poverty in the country. The Namibian Sun on its page 3 brings reports on some good news for Otjiwarongo town, which has been able to curb its budget deficit from 23.8 million Namibian dollars down to 9.1 million Namibian dollars. That is a substantial improvement, especially when compared to many other towns in Namibia. At the same time, the town has also been able to increase its assets. Now we move on to our next story. The Republican leads with an update about South African ruling by its health department that does not accept Namibian vaccination cards. Namibia is busy sorting out glitches on the system that is managed by Pana Boys. South Africa thus only accepts vaccination certificates that also disclose a QR code allowing quick access to relevant documentation. Currently, Namibians who want to travel to South Africa during the Easter would need to present a negative PRC test, as the vaccination card is not accepted by Namibia's southern neighbor. The Republican on page 1 reports that the locust threat, and on page 3 it brings an article that would have sounded very promising if it was not for the insect plague. It seems as though a study has shown that mutton could turn out to be a very profitable product for farmers who want to export their meat. However, this can only happen if locusts do not destroy the pastures, especially in the south where the biggest producers of mutton are found. On its front page, the Allgemeine Zeitung focuses on an interview recently aired on NMH's network television, the program called The Agenda, where the Minister of Mines and Energy, Tom Alwendo, explained why the ownership of oil is less important than what the actual production can do for the country as such. He explained Namibia's predicament of owning natural resources that it cannot afford properly to develop and utilize on account of huge expense, while international organizations can fill that void. The AZ also focused on the fact that Namibia, dissimilar to Angola, currently has no plans to later subsidize its fuel once it earns foreign currency through the export of crude oil. On its page 3, the Allgemeine Zeitung goes into details looking at the recent procurement tracker by the IPPR that had a look at the government's performance as regards its sticking to official procedures. As part of the quarterly review, the IPPR also critically assessed the procurement process of medical supplies during the COVID-19 pandemic. The process was characterized by poor management, waste, and and corruption. Going into detail, it found that the Office of the Prime Minister spent an amount close to 1.4 million Namibian dollars on services that were procured outside the procurement process, and the Ministry of Health and Social Services spent approximately another 4.6 million Namibian dollars without remaining compliant to the procedure's regulations. The non-compliant process incurred massive price jumps and thus over expenditure. We will be right back with more news after the break. This is NMH at 1 and we are back with more news from in Namibia. The Namibian leads with an article about the controversial new rule that attempts to preserve pension for the time when people are actually old. The Namibian reports that Namibian Workers' Union are now also criticizing this new rule as they were not consulted beforehand, implying that withholding pension could drive union members into poverty. On page 3, the Namibian reports on an appeal directed at Samheri Fishing Company by researchers, unionists, legal experts, and Transparency International Bureau in Iceland, who all believe that Samheri Holding should return all gains made as a result of it apparently having been directly involved in the fish rod scandal that saw Samheri allegedly paying bribes to Namibian politicians and officials. The new era leads with a reflection on an interview by Leon Euster before he retired as the Minister of Public Enterprise last week. Euster apparently lamented that the fact that semi-governmental institutions still find it hard to attract quality board members who are prepared and able to oversee these parastatal. He is of the opinion that the preconceptions and perceptions amongst the public at large have led to a situation where qualified people are not prepared to get involved any longer. On its page 3, the New Era reports that the embattled former magistrate Walter Mostard has informed the judge during an appearance in Windhoek Regional Court that he will approach the High Court as his rights were violated when he was rearrested recently. The NMH supplement, The Zone, this week focuses on youth in leadership, speaking to Theophilus Shaduka from Gabriel Chapopi Secondary School in Ongwediva, where he currently serves as junior mayor of his northern Namibian town. And finally, in economic news, the Market Watch leads with an article about money that currently circulates in Namibia, in the Namibian economy, 4.76 billion Namibian dollars. That is, the good news is that Namibia does seem to have counterfeit money under control, as the total number of counterfeit banknotes picked up in 2021 came down to 115 such fake notes. Sticking with the economic news, local fishing industry stakeholders want the government to ban foreigners from taking part in quota auction. This and more stories from the world of economics when we return from the break. Thank you for watching NMH at 1, and we are back with economic news. Local fishing industry stakeholders want the government to ban foreigners from taking part in quota auction to spur growth in the industry. With the government having thrown its net into the sea again, this time it is selling 11,090 metric tons of wholesale mackerel, and it wants at least 30 million Namibian dollars through the process. The previous 3 auctions flopped after the government failed to reach its financial revenue targets. According to the auction bid document, bidders will scramble for 11,090 metric tons of horse mackerel. Bids must be in multiples of 100 metric tons with a minimum price of 3,000 Namibian dollars per MT for freezer fish and 750 Namibian dollars MT for wet fish. Bidding entities should quote a price to the nearest 2 decimal places, the document read. Through last year's auction, the government netted just over 1 billion Namibian dollars, with the first auction netting 575 million Namibian dollars, followed by another auction that generated 408.6 million Namibian dollars. That was used to fund the government's COVID-19 response in November 2021, and most recently netting government 85 million Namibian dollars in an auction that involved the Democratic Republic of Congo. In our next story, the Otjiwarongo municipality has managed to improve its financial performance, reducing its deficit by 9.1 million Namibian dollars from 23.8 million Namibian dollars in 2020 to 14.7 million Namibian dollars in 2021, marking a 62% improvement in its financial performance. The municipality was also able to increase its total asset position from 2020 to 2021, maintaining it on average at 230 million Namibian dollars, while new additions in 2020 increased the total asset value from 217.8 Namibian dollars in 2019 to 233.1 million in 2020, it noted. The revenue exchange transaction service rendered rentals increased by 4.6% from 80.1 million Namibian dollars in 2019 to 83.8 million Namibian dollars in 2021. The municipality was, however, unable to rein in its expenditure, with its increasing 21% from 109.6 million Namibian dollars in 2019 to 132.8 million Namibian dollars in 2020. This represents an average yearly growth of 10.5% on a year-to-year basis. Now let's have a look at economic indicators. The Namibian dollar has dropped 0.1% against the one, while seeing a boost against these 3 major currencies. On the NSX shows an increase in stock prices for MTC, let's say Holdings and Namibia Breweries Limited. Local index is down 0.10%, while the overall index is down by 0.86% on the NSX. All commodities have gone up in value. Brent crude oil is now trading at $100.60. In DRC, former cabinet director Kamer has a 13 years prison sentence overturned by the Cassation Court. Stick around for the full story after the break.
Got me feeling fresh.
You are still watching NMH at 1. We now take a look at the latest news in our neighboring countries. We will later extend it to the rest of the globe. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Court of Cassation accepted Vital Kamerhe's appeal and overturned his 13-year prison sentence over corruption allegations. The case is now referred to Kinshasa Kobe Court of Appeal, where new judges will be appointed. For the last 2 years, President Felix Tshisekedi, former cabinet director, has been accused of embezzlement of nearly $50 million meant for the construction and prefabrication of houses and the military as well as police. Kamerhe, who is now 63, was first convicted to 20 years in prison in April 2020. It was reduced to 13 years in prison on appeal in June 2021. Last December, the senior politician was granted a conditional release for health reasons. Now, in our next story, salaries received through mobile money platform in Ghana will be affected by recently passed electronic transfer levy, which is expected to start in May this year. Monies from bank accounts to mobile money platforms will attack 1.50% mobile money charge. A principal revenue officer at the Ghana Revenue Authority, Isaac Kabino Amwako, said, adding that the current law does not distinguish between corporate and individual mobile money. He revealed that this will also affect loan disbursement among other banking transactions. The announcement of the electronic levy attracted many criticism. It was announced last year. Debates sparked in a brawl in Ghana's parliament, and demonstrations have been staged by the public, with many Ghanaian celebrities joining the protest on Twitter. But the government insists that the introduction of these new taxes will help in gathering money for rapid development in the West African nation. The European Union says it is stopping its military training mission in Mali, but will keep the presence in the Sahel region, where jihadist attacks have been spreading in recent years. The EU's foreign policy chief said ministers had cited the presence of Russian mercenaries from Wagner Group as one of the reasons for the decision not to continue training Malian troops. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has reached out to the African Union for support against Russia's aggression. We now move over to international news after the break. Stay with us.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag #paybackthemoney.
NMH at 1 is back with the international news. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has reached out to the African Union for support against Russia's aggression and requested to address the continental organization. Master Zelensky called the Senegalese President Macky Sall on Monday, and their conversation touched on an AU statement in February that called for an immediate ceasefire and a return to negotiations. African nations have showed disunity unity in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Senegal was among 17 African countries that abstained from a vote at the UN on a resolution demanding that Russia ends its military operation in Ukraine. In our next story, Taiwanese military released a handbook on civil defense today, giving citizens survival guidance in a war scenario as Russia's invasion of Ukraine focuses attention on how the island should respond to China's pressure. China has never renounced the use of force to bring Taiwan under its control and has stepped military activities nearby in the past 2 years to press it into accepting its sovereignty claims. Taiwan's handbook details how to find bomb shelters via smartphone app, water and food supply, as well as tips on preparing for an emergency first aid kit. The handbook uses comic strips and pictures with tips to survive a military attack, such as how to distinguish air raid sirens and ways to shelter from missiles. Excitement has kicked back in the Capricorn Women's Tri-Series tournament will be held on the home soil. More on that when we return with local sport news. Stay with us.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in 1 bundle. It's new, it's 1 bill, and you can stay connected in more than 1 location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Welcome back to NMH at 1, and we are back with the sports news. Cricket Namibia have expressed excitement towards hosting the Capricorn Women's Tri-Series tournament on home soil. The tournament will take place from the 20th to the 26th April at the CCD Field in the capital. Women's Cricket Zone has joined Namibia as a broadcasting partner for the Capricorn Cricket Tournament. The Tri-Series is aimed at improving the Eagles' ICC T20 World Ranking. Cricket Namibia CEO Johanna Muller says hosting the competition is a privilege to host a tournament of such a nature. The series will see Uganda, Zimbabwe and Namibia battling it out for the top honors. New Kids on the Block Ochinene Athletic Clubs collected 21 medals from the Pupkewitz Foundation Championship held at Swakopmund. The team, led by Alfonso Chindandi and Kapewonwasa Taure, have already started showing signs of promising after 13 athletes making their debut at the championship secured gold, silver, bronze medals in various disciplines. Chitindi lauded the team members for their efforts and hopes corporate Namibia will come on board to support the team in all their daily needs. We'll be right back with the international sports after the break.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in 1 bundle. It's new, it's 1 bill, and you can stay connected in more than 1 location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Thank you for watching NMH at 1. Let's take a look at the international sports scene. Black Star assistant coach George Boateng has urged the Ghanaian Football Association to chase overseas stars whose heritage lies in the country. African nations' pursuit of players from abroad who have African lineage is becoming increasingly popular, with the likes of Amodola Lookman and Abdoulaye Doucouré recently switching their international allegiance from England to France to Nigeria and Mali respectively. Qatari sports investment are ready to throw in the towel and sell the club. Earlier this week, it was claimed on Spanish television show El Chitaguito that the big spending owners are ready to put the League One leaders up for sale after the 2022 FIFA World Cup later this year. However, PSG have now moved to deny the claims that the club is up for sale. We'll be right back after this short ad break.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.in.
Thank you very much for watching NMH at 1 with myself, Aina Raizakweo. It has been a pleasure spending my lunch with you. Now, we will be right back tomorrow, same time, same place. And coming up next on NMH is Regional Review.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Regional Review. I'm Kenya Kambowe, the Namibia Media Holdings correspondent in the Northeastern regions. On today's show, we'll be sharing with you highlights of events that unfolded in the Northeastern regions over the past week. Also, we have an interview with Mr. Paulo Sitentu, a unionist who will be telling us or share his opinion on the increase of food commodities as well as the fuel prices in terms of how it affected the residents, especially in the Kavango East regions. He'll also talk about how the lack of increase for the salaries of civil servants has affected their disposable income and them taking care of their families. Meanwhile, in history, today is grilled cheese sandwich day. So check out the next video. Welcome back, and now for the news segment. Our first story is about the lifeless body of a 20-year-old boy from Kaisosi who was found in the Kavango River floating. The community on Friday had a peaceful demonstration towards the office of the Kavango East Governor Boniface Wakutumo, where they handed over a petition calling for the law enforcement to strengthen their efforts to combat crime in this region, as well as calling upon action to be taken to the suspected culprits. This is what unfolded.
Murder of Taveras by Renos Ferru on the 21st of 03/2022 by his brother. Taveras' body was found floating and disjointed. It was discovered that his own brother killed him. Taveras is not the first incident in Kaisosi. Kaisosi has been losing people without trace, and some have been killed. As a community, we have lost about 11 people. Our pain and disappointed is that although the culprits were taken to prison, they were only spent for a night in the cell and they were released. The person were taken about was poured with acid after being killed. This resulted in the body dissolving. Why should the same institution that's supposed to protect our right and they are neglecting us? Are the dead no longer important in protection of the dignity? We are demanding the following. The culprits must be brought back into custody. The culprits' home must be removed from the community. Empower the Kaisosi police substation. The statement must act on behalf of the victim and the community so culprits are severely punished. The police must dig deep, find out the whole matter and mobilize the criminal in the community. As a community, we are demanding that Tavares' dignity needs to be restored. Failure to fulfill the above-mentioned demand, we are going to take the law in our own hands. The youth are organizing and put the culprits down. These demands are only given a time frame of 7 working days.
7 working days.
If nothing will happen in these 7 days, we shall act as stipulated above.
Our second story is about Kavango East Regional Governor Boniface Wakudumo, who at an event on Friday did not mince his word when he talked about contractors who are failing his government as well as administrators in the Kavango East Regional Council who are not doing their job. This is what he said.
I want to assure you, as long as I'm the governor of the Kavango East region, administrators, if you are doing your work correctly, I am representing central government. There's no way you will tell me that no governor is interfering. I am not interfering, but I am directing you to make sure that you do the correct work. The government and the president whom I represent as a regional governor is elected by the electorates. And as a regional head, it is my responsibility to make sure, no matter what your position you hold in administration, my responsibility is to make sure that you comply and you do the work correctly. I cannot sit in my office, you tell me this school is having a hostel, and I know that school doesn't have a hostel, and you pay contractors to deliver services while that school doesn't have a hostel. And as a regional governor, I must just keep quiet, sit in the office, you to do your administrative work. I cannot allow that. Not in my tenure as the governor of this region. I will not allow that. Government must and should spend money for services rendered. We must agree. And we must also disagree for the good cause. I am not threatening anybody here, but I just want to tell you the truth. As long as Wakudumo Bonifatus is a governor in the Kavango East region, I will make sure, technocrats, you do your work.
as we are very much aware that public servants haven't received salary increments for over 7 years, inflation rate has continued to grow each and every year. While now we have now received, as we are seeing, the massive rise in prices of all commodities, especially the basic commodities, and now of late the escalating prices in fuel. So it has severe consequences, and it's seriously affecting the disposable incomes of the citizens, to the extent that one is not even able to be able to cater for their needs. Now, if the food prices is so high, how is one able to feed their families? So these are serious challenges. Now, if we talk of in bigger towns, or most especially the capital city, where the price of accommodation, for instance, is very high. So the living expenditures is terrible, that one can't sustain it. So this price increases, and the fact that there's no salary increase for over the past years is terrible, and we cannot really allow it. Now, narrowing down to the situation of the Kavango regions to be in particular, knowing for a mere fact that they are the most poorest regions, it's the consequences are terrible, are severe. So to say that, as we all know, that there are very few individuals that are earning an income, and most of these individuals, those very few individuals that are earning an income, will have to feed two to more than 5 or 6 different extended families. So now, can you imagine a situation where you were previously, with that small amount, you were earning that small amount and be able to still support 5 to 6, 7 families? It's really terrible. Now, unfortunately, this is the culture in this part of the country, the regions, because these are the poorest region. The reason why the regions are poor is because of there are very few people that are earning a decent income, and from those numbers, few numbers of those that are earning an income, still those very few numbers are supporting more families. So then the strain on these families has become so much, and it is so terrible, and it's unsustainable. So coming back to the region, seriously, it is affecting the region terribly, because the living expenditure has become too much. So the disposable income of the residents or individuals that are able to earn an income is not sufficient enough to sustain the family. So as we speak now, the situation is terrible. It really needs us to take drastic measures, so to say that we come up with measures to navigate around this situation.
Okay. You spoke about no salary increments for quite some time. Our government claims that there's no money. As you can see by our budget, how money is now being taken from one ministry. Some ministries are also being killed or dismantled, simply to make sure that maybe government can have money in the future. But at the current moment, as a unionist, will it be safe to say that government is broke and that it should not increase workers' employee salaries?
Mr. Kambowe, I will not want to believe the narrative that our government is broke, because we have not seen that. So the government needs to prove to us that really there is no money to do so. Now, if there is no money to do so, what are we doing as a government? What have we decided to cut down on some of the on some of the expenses, that unnecessary expenses that we are incurring as a country? Some of the unnecessary benefits, what have we done? Because the moment that you're still sustaining the same livelihood or the same level of expenditure, basically simply means that you are not broke enough. Now, if it's too much, if it's too much, why are you not cutting down on certain benefits of politicians, for instance? Why would a civil servant, a poor civil servant like a cleaner, pay for the benefits of a prime minister. What sense does that make? These people are living basically for free. It's the poor civil servants that are earning little that are paying for the furnitures, that are paying for the fuel of these people. Now you tell me that there is no money. Why are we not cutting down on some of these specs to really show that really this situation has hit us all, and that the impact is being felt by everyone? Because now as we speak, the impact is only being felt by the poor person on the ground. Let's take a look at an example. You see, we have some unnecessary expenditure that we as a country have decided to embark upon, which are unsustainable. For instance, if a person, if the policy in the country or the law says that if I reach 60 years old, whenever I reach 60 years old, I must retire and get my benefits. But look at what is happening in our country now. We have elders that are more than 70 years old on government payroll. Is that sustainable? Is that fair? Is that right? So all these are questions that we need to seriously interrogate ourselves to look at it. And you know, just to add on that, Namibia is a very rich country, to tell you, because we have the resources. We have the resources. The problem is that we have poor implementation of our plans. The resources that we have, the fishing sector, could have been used to benefit this whole country. But what are we doing? Look at what the effect of the fishing sector or the diamond sector has on our country. Zero. So how can you claim that the country is poor when you are not utilizing the resources appropriately? There's only a few individuals that are benefiting from this. And you call that fairness? And what does it bring? What returns does it bring in the country? Zero returns. So those are the issues that we're having.